Welcome to Top 10 Archive. The wonders of technology. Thanks to programs like Photoshop, it's almost impossible to believe anything incredible you come across online these days. The ability to cut, paste, blend has given us some of the most ridiculous material to gawk over. But we're not focusing on the best of Photoshop. Instead, we've compiled 10 images that are so unbelievable you wouldn't believe they're not a product of digital tampering. Number 10. A crowd divided. There's a lot going on in this photograph that could easily have one crying foul. But alas, everything you see is as it was at the moment the shutter snapped. One half of the audience is filled with North Korea's decorated soldiers, the other half reserved for Kim Il-sung's devoted followers. The picture was snapped in 2012 on Kim Il-sung's 100th birthday, and if not for the lines of color from some of the audience's colorful female members, it would be a dreary mix of olive garb and navy blue suits. Number 9. Charlotte's light pillars. This clever photograph has clearly been tampered with to look like a perfectly timed snapshot of the rapture. Well, that's what you would probably think had we not spilled the beans, that all of these photos are real. That's right, this picture, taken in Charlotte, Michigan by self-proclaimed nocturnal photographer Vincent Brady, depicts a real phenomenon, and it has nothing to do with the end of the world. The supposed beams of light are actually patches of freezing cold air that turns fog into crystals known as diamond dust. Light reflects off of these floating crystals, making it look like creepy lights from above. Number 8. Cartoon on the horizon. Strolling through the hills of New Zealand, you may expect to see a hobbit or two, but definitely not a large cartoonish piece of paper. While you may want to rush to call BS on this image, what you're actually looking at is the product of Neil Dawson. Dawson is known for his surreal sculptures, and this oversized piece of paper is just another of his works. The metal structure creates a three-dimensional look from afar, but as you get closer, you realize it's little more than some metal rods and mesh, which creates the bit of color or shading on the upper left and lower right sides. Oh, and an honorable mention goes out to Dawson's other well-known sculpture, Ripples. Number 7. Real-world art. Well, clearly, somebody took a picture on this train and then painted the old man in after, right? Well, if that's the case, then what are the two people flanking the old man looking so intently at? In actuality, they see him just as we do, and this picture has not been altered to achieve this effect. Instead, artist Alexa Mead applied acrylic paints directly to the subject of the photo, covering him head to toe to look like a living portrait. Mead is known in Washington, D.C. for her painting on 3D objects, and this is just one example of how impressive her work really is. Number 6. The painted trees. There's almost no denying that this picture is photoshopped, right? How often in nature do we see perfection like this, especially when it comes to color lines? Well, it may not be frequent, but it does happen. And this picture, taken in Western Hungary after a 2010 toxic waste spill, is the best depiction of it. The reddish tint in the lower half of the photo is the after-effect toxic sludge from an aluminum factory that killed 9 and nearly destroyed a village of thousands. Though the villagers have all returned home, they have this picture as a reminder of that tragic event. Number 5. Air traffic. How clever of the editor of this photo to make it look like the Lufthansa Airlines plane is in the middle of landing on the highway. But wait, could this picture really be just a trick of the eyes and not the product of some crafty tampering? Take a close second look and you'll notice that the craft is actually on the bridge in the background. Also, if you've been brushing up on your knowledge of German airports, you'll probably know about the Leipzig-Halle Airport, where the highway cuts underneath the runway. That's right, this picture is 100% real and not a photoshopped trick. Number 4. Black and white claws. Colorizing one section of a photo is a pretty simple Photoshop trick that most beginners learn. So it's obvious that the Mrs. Claus in this picture was given the old grayscale treatment to stand out. Except that's not the case at all, as this cheeky Claus was done up in grayscale makeup and thrown in a black and white version of the iconic holiday costume. Other fine examples of this technique are out there, such as the unedited photo of RuPaul's Drag Race star Detox posing in complete grayscale alongside Candace Cain. But the mass of color and obvious artistic look of this one simply makes it look incredibly edited. Number 3. Hole in One. It may look like Eli Roth has set himself up in a great publicity stunt for one of his finer films, being photographed with a gent that was later photoshopped to look like he can shove his finger up his nasal cavity through his eye socket. Meet Billy Owens, a man who actually can stick his finger through a hole in his nasal cavity and out his right eye socket. Ew. That's right, this is no trick of digital tampering. This is a real photo of Billy, who suffered from sinonasal undifferentiated carcinoma, a form of cancer with a 10% survival rate. Billy pulled through, granted with a few things missing, but continues to use his state to tell his miraculous story. Number 2. Andy Pavlov's World of Ants. When the world around you starts to feel too big, you may want to turn to Andy Pavlov's World of Ants. This Russian photographer took insect photography to a new level when he started to introduce these 100% real shots. Even more incredible than the clarity of these snaps is that the ants in these pictures are actually alive and interacting with a sort of obstacle course that Pavlov set up for them. Having studied the nature of ants, Pavlov set up props along their trail and snapped pictures of the live specimen interacting with them. The outcome? Some truly surreal photos that are initially impossible to believe as real and unaltered. Number 1. Kitty Copter. Ah, the internet. If people aren't arguing over whether Damn Daniel is funny or not, they're spending their time altering pictures of cats. This gem, which depicts a cat transformed into a helicopter, isn't actually one of those modified photos. You heard us right. This is a real cat hooked up to propellers, an engine, and landing gear. A dead cat, mind you, but still a real cat. In 2012, Dutch artist Bart Janssen took the corpse of a cat hit by a car and installed the remote control equipment needed for this kitty to fly, all in the name of art. Hey loyal archivers, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Then, right now, help us grow even faster and share the links below to repost and share this video with all of your family and friends on your favorite social media sites. Do you have an idea for a future Top 10 video? Let us know in the comments section below. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and our website, top10archive.net.